Welcome to episode 2 of Community Connect. My name is Allie White and I'll be your host, and today we'll be speaking with Stephen and Tara Wilson of the Mahle House Restaurant, another family-owned and operated business in Cedar in beautiful South Nanaimo. Welcome to Community Connect, our second episode.
Hi, Allie.
Hi, good to see you.
It's really nice to have you, and you guys are really just a bike ride away from my home, and so I know that you have a beautiful restaurant and beautiful food, and I want to showcase it for the rest of the Nanaimo community and hopefully introduce it to VIU students and staff. Tell us a little bit about the history of the Mahle House and why you're involved with it.
I'll start with that. So the Mahle House was originally started by my mother Maureen and her brother Delbert. They bought this house here in Cedar, I think in the mid-70s, and they purchased it together with this idea of maybe one day we'll open a restaurant together. My mom always loved to cook, and my uncle Delbert had worked in various restaurants in Vancouver. So they made the investment with this, sort of dream. And what ended up happening, they rented the house out to various tenants over the course of about 5-6 years. And then there was actually a fire in the building. One of the tenants was melting wax for canning and caught the wallpaper in the kitchen on fire. Layers of wallpaper. The house was built in 1904, so there was a lot of wallpaper. And then the local fire department ended up saving the building. So the interior was somewhat gutted, but the original fir floors are still here, and the whole sort of structure of the building was retained. So good shout out to the local fire department here. In any case, and then of course, then at that point it was, well, we need to refurbish and let's do it as a restaurant. So it opened as the Mahle House in 1983 with my mom as the chef and my uncle running the dining room.
It has such a, not only a personal history, but it has this building history.
What ended up happening is, people in the community always referred to this house as the old Mahle House, the old Mahle House, because it had been there for so long. So the restaurant, when it originally opened, was actually called the old Mahle House. We've since shortened it to Mahle House, mostly because it was confusing where to look in the phone book when we used to use such things, whether to look under O or M.
Yeah. So when you were a child, were you involved with the running of the restaurant, or were you just sort of around in the kitchen every day, or how did that work?
I did officially work here right from the day that it opened. I was 11 years old, and I worked in the kitchen washing dishes, and then quickly decided that I liked things on the other side of the door. And it was more fun hanging out with my uncle and aunt later on. So at 14, I moved out to the dining room, was actually waiting tables at the age of 14. Wouldn't fly now, but yeah.
I was about to say, because how old are your kids now?
14.
Yeah, 14.
Oh, okay, so how much did your mom pay you when you were 11?
I remember, because I had this chart at home where I would track my money on. I got paid $10 per shift. Didn't matter, how many hours I worked. So yeah, I would calculate, how many days I needed to work to make a certain amount of money to buy something. $10 a day, yeah. And now minimum wage, of course, is more than that for 1 hour. Yeah. So yeah, full circle. I grew up working here and then moved away. I attended VIU or Malaspina College back in those days and did most of my degree there, and then moved to Victoria to finish off a few courses at UVic. Met this guy working there, and we were in Victoria for about 13 years. And then when we moved back here, we bought a house very close to the restaurant, which we've since sold and moved back to my family property on Holden Lake.
Now, Stephen, were you originally from this area as well, or you were from Victoria and she's pulled you in?
I moved to Victoria from Alberta after high school, so late 80s. And I met Tara in early 2000s? Or early...
No, we got married in 2000.
No. Early 90s, I meant to say.
Yeah.
Early 90s, early
96, 95,
mid-90s,
96,
yeah.
I think.
When we first met and we started, Tara would bring me out to Cedar to the restaurant or to, her parents' place. I remember the time thinking, what a weird place Cedar was, and Nanaimo, like never wanted to live. Oh, I never want to live there. Never want to live there. And honestly, now I couldn't even imagine living anywhere else.
Mm-hmm. It's something about the island life. It's something about the smaller town. And
Smaller town, slower pace. Yeah, I get anxiety when I go to big cities now.
Stephen doesn't like to leave at all. I like to escape to, or not escape, but get away to Vancouver and Victoria once in a while, just to kind of get a taste of that city life again, and then come back here.
That's why we're in the perfect location in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. It's very, very close, very easy.
And so talking about the community and going through this pandemic together, and I know that you guys were serving meals by order out the door. And so you've had quite a transition over this period. How has that been for you?
It was certainly different. I mean, we've always shied away from doing takeout. It was more of almost an inconvenience than anything. And so it was quite an adjustment for us to get used to putting food in boxes. We spend quite a bit of time making the plates look as beautiful as possible. Yeah. And here we are just putting food in boxes. So that was mentally a bit of an adjustment. But I think even a bigger adjustment was figuring out how much we could accomplish, or like how much we could do. We realized that we can actually serve a lot more guests doing takeout than we can with in-house dining. Yeah. So yeah, it was definitely an adjustment getting used to doing the takeout. Tara was very cautious at first about how many orders we could take. She's like, oh, that's so much. And we quickly realized that we could quadruple what we started doing as long as we had the orders for it. And as it turns out, because of speaking of the community, because of what happened for us in April, we were able to do an incredibly large volume. Which was a really neat learning curve. In April, one of our very, very good customers, a family that live out in this area, subsidized our takeout program for the entire month.
Amazing.
So it was absolutely amazing. So they paid essentially half of everybody's bill for the whole month. So needless to say, we were very busy. And then towards the end of the month, I approached the family. I said that we would really like to acknowledge them in some way publicly, just to say thank you, because it was truly amazing what they did. I mean, I was able to keep a few people working. We actually had an extremely successful April. And so his suggestion was, well, this is about the Mahle House. This isn't about us. So if you want to say thank you, how about we start a donation page on your behalf with Loaves and Fishes, and we will match up to $25,000 anyone's contributions. So for us saying thank you, he's now spending more money, which was funny. But so the campaign just wrapped up. It ended up raising in total with his donation and all the others, $60,000.
Yeah. So the $25,000 that donation campaign, the Nanaimo and Cedar community donated $25,000 through that portal on the Loaves and Fishes website. And then the local, we can say their names and we can acknowledge them. It's the Green family locally matched that donation. And another organization called the Nanaimo Foundation contributed an additional $10,000. So $60,000 was the total raised. And if you see on Loaves and Fishes social media or our social media, that amount of money translates into something like 300,000 plus worth of food, or what they can do for the community with that amount raised. So that was amazing to see, especially in this particular time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And obviously us as a small business, it did so much for us. It's been a bit of a struggle for restaurants, and still is right now. Restaurants can reopen right now, but the restrictions are very limiting. So you have to be very careful and creative about your business model to make a go of it. And we're learning every day. We change something or decide on something different. So this next phase will be another learning curve.
Mm-hmm.
But we're ready, I guess, as ready as well.
Yeah, the uncertainty is incredible. And
Yeah.
so if you guys are not only the spatial restrictions, but in terms of your menu and what you usually offer, I know that that's probably quite seasonal based on what's coming out in the farm and what's available in the community, but how else is that affecting what you can offer?
Well, to some degree, because of the restrictions, we have basically half the dining room we used to have. So we've had to a small degree, scale the menu back, simply because when you have less volume, you move through less products. So we have to be a little bit more careful that way. But we've always changed our menu on the fly, so to speak. A lot of restaurants have a static menu that they print and it doesn't change. It's a hard menu. We change our menus daily if we have to. So we still have the same degree of flexibility we've always had, which actually does serve us quite nicely in the current situation. But yeah, menu-wise, not a lot of changes, just maybe a little bit smaller. That's the biggest thing.
And so for your menu, if some people have favorites and then you take them off the menu, is that ever an issue?
Yeah, I'm used to that. When we took over, we changed a few things right away, and then over the years, slowly changed dishes that we wanted to update, or just you get bored after a while. With a restaurant, I figure you either stay the same forever or you change frequently.
Do you mean bored as in the flavors, or I know that you have your Red Seal Chef certification from VIU.
Sure.
So is that from a cooking perspective, you get bored of making it, or?
Both. Get bored of making it, and the customers, especially the regular customers, people that are here often, some of them only ever have the same thing, and that's all they think about. And then it's horrible for them when you take it off. But other people that really enjoy food too like to see variety and change. So, we can never do everything perfectly for everybody. At the end of the day too, it keeps our creative juices flowing, so to speak, if we change dishes up. So
we've tried, one of the challenges when you take over a family business and a long-standing business, you have to strike a balance between respecting the history and maintaining the integrity of the family business, but then also moving on. The restaurant has been here for more than 35 years now, that, obviously we're not serving the same thing and doing everything in the same way that we did initially. And so we've just tried to strike a balance between our history and our future in terms of maintaining menu-wise some really key dishes. The wasabi mayonnaise that Bernie so loves comes with, served with a prawn dish, our porcupine prawns that, any regular customers would know about. And as much as they drive us crazy sometimes, because we could ask our cook Aaron how many prawns he wrapped and fried in April. It was more crazy. Than 200 a day often. And for me personally, when we're serving them in the dining room, they make a mess. They're the little pastry bits are all over the place, so we're vacuuming constantly. But that's something that stays on the menu because people they come and they associate that with their Mahle House experience, their treat.
Well, the Mahle House was built on porcupine prawns. It's by far and away our best-selling appetizer. We can spend a lot of time building a new appetizer and get really excited about it. And on a busy night, we'll sell 18 orders of porcupine prawns and two of the new dish.
Right? Yeah.
But it is,
You just answered my question then. Obviously, that's a signature dish. And
it's so many people. Oh, the Mahle House. Oh, you have those prawns.
They come in, just have a drink and some prawns?
Some people do. There's one person that comes in and will often have 2 orders of prawns as his entree.
Okay.
Which is, not a healthy choice, but
extra time making the plate look really pretty.
There's only so much you can do with them, but the flavor and it hits for people definitely.
What's happening over the next week or so, because you guys are starting to open up? And so Tara, you mentioned that there was some opening of the outside garden area, which I know you have a beautiful garden area to spend time in.
What we're doing right now is reservations only in the dining room, and we're being really careful about booking. Really only one party is booked at a particular time, just so that the arrival experience can maintain physical distancing. So we have odd reservation times that you're coming at 5:40, whereas in the past we would kind of book 4 or 5 tables at every half an hour, 5 o'clock, 5:30, 6 o'clock. We can't quite do that in the same way anymore, both because of the protocols with distancing and also because as a business, we really need to, with limited tables in the dining room, ideally we want to try to sell that table twice in one night. So a restaurant like this one, most people want to dine at, well, everybody it seems wants to dine at 6 and 6:30. But it takes about 2 hours to get through a dining experience if you're doing a 3-course meal, and it's very difficult for us to sell tables at 8 o'clock and 8:30. Most people, don't want to come out here that late, so we're having to try to, fairly strict with our timing. We're still doing takeout as well. So we've kind of got, regular guests coming in through the front door, and our takeout is delivered out through our back kitchen door into another parking lot that we're lucky to have on the Heber Road side of the building. And now then the third element that we're hoping to add in are some picnic tables in the garden area of the restaurant. But that's going to be another learning curve that we can't book picnic tables the same way we would reserve a table in the dining room that, if you called me and said, I'd like to sit, in the garden 2 weeks from now on Friday, that'd be lovely, but what if it's raining and then I don't have a table available to bring you inside? So yeah, we've been tossing around a lot of ideas of, what we're going to do with that. So plan is to sort of do more last minute promotions on social media where we say, okay, it's on, it's today, it's sunny, it's warm, come and join us. Happy hour from this time to that time in the garden.
In terms of the website, is that current, that menu? If they were to go there, they could order it off the menu. And is there just a call, or is there an online form for ordering, or how do they order?
For our dine-in reservations and takeout, phone calls and emails are primarily the way that we do that. If you're wanting to make a reservation or order takeout for, today, we always recommend phoning us directly. If it's a future order reservation, email is great as well. We're already hearing from some customers that takeout is still their preferred way to dine. They're not quite comfortable, taking the step to come back into a restaurant right now. So our plan is to continue offering takeout for those people. Our dine-in experience is as completely safe. We're following all the protocols and have everything in place that we need to have. But we want to have choices for our guests that if they're more comfortable taking that meal home, then we're going to continue to do that and possibly look into even more efficient ways of ordering in the future if need be.
Well, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to chat with me this morning, and I think that it's a great opportunity to teach our VIU students and staff about your lovely restaurant. And I know that a lot of people already know about it, but of course a lot of our students are new to Nanaimo, and so this is an opportunity to encourage them to go for a little drive and see beautiful Cedar and check out this fantastic restaurant. So thank you.
Thanks,
Allie. It's our pleasure.